want to introduce Caitlin. It's an influencer who is documenting her massive weight loss journey on social media. Now, she was 600 pounds at this time last year. Now she's lost 200 pounds. She said she was born into an obese family, and now she wants to break the cycle and get herself and her sons healthier.
I have struggled with my weight my whole life. It really has affected the quality of my life. When I stepped on the scale and saw that not only was I over 500 pounds, I was pushing 600 pounds, I was just like in complete denial. I was disgusted. Growing up, I was always overweight. I was considered morbidly obese at a very young age, and it's just skyrocketed from there. I grew up in the projects. We were definitely a lower class. My heaviest weight in high school was probably around like 350. I had my first child at 23, about 4 years after graduation, and I was 509 when I was pregnant with my son. Hunter has been diagnosed with child obesity, and Polly is currently following in his footsteps. I feel like I have failed my kids, but I also realize that it's not too late. They are only 6 and 10, and I am taking back my life at 34. My kids have seen me lose 200 pounds this year. It is extremely important to me that my kids get healthy with me. I truly believe that we can break the cycle in our family, in our generations, going forward with obesity.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
undertaking that journey and the
you.
success that you've had so far.
Thank you.
So what have you done to change what's happening?
So I started my journey at the beginning of the year, like a lot of people, with a New Year's resolution. And I lost 79 pounds on my own. Just, changing my eating habits, focusing a lot on protein. Portion size was really important to me. And then April 22nd of this year, I did have weight loss surgery. I just hit 200 pounds down the other day. It's just really focusing on my macros, which I'm learning about, carbs, fat, protein, and just really focusing on portions and making healthier choices.
A lot of people think having that surgery is like an easy way out, shortcut. There's nothing easy about that at all, is there?
No, I mean, I ate myself to 600 pounds. I have an addiction to food. And, they did surgery on my stomach organ. They did nothing to my brain. I still am addicted to food, and I can't avoid food like someone with an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction. I am surrounded by food and need food to fuel my body on a daily basis. So I am fighting a mental battle every day to fight my addiction to food.
Yeah, there is a difference there. If it's alcohol, you can abstain 100%. You don't have to interact with the substance. But with food, you can't go to complete abstinence. You have to interact with the substance, which would make it really hard for an alcoholic. If they had to interact, they had to drink some,
Right.
would make it particularly difficult. But you do have to eat, and so it's hard. And as Jillian was saying, one of the best things you can do is to program your environment to support your goals, which means you've got to clean out your environment of everything that you don't want to be eating, but you have to repopulate it with the things you do want to eat because you don't want to be controlled by the fear of being hungry. Have you been listening to the conversation that we've been having?
I have, and I agree completely. I'm guilty of thinking, butter is the bad, evil thing. You shouldn't be eating butter, you know what I mean? And things like that. So it's been very informative so far.
Yeah. And also, you need to change what you're teaching your children as well, right?
Exactly.
Because they don't have the ability to go to the store and make selections and choose their diet and all. That comes from you. So you can be a role model and also provide them with what they need. And that's what's important for them if they're going to have a chance.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be a battle, right? This is like such an intimate part of your relationship with your children. And that is your relationship. You're teaching them to have a relationship with food. And when you enjoy what you're eating and are proud of what you're eating and it makes you feel good, they see that. Now, one of the things that I've discovered, and I want to share with you here, that is so important, is that something that seed oils do to our metabolism. They change the way our brains crave energy. Instead of craving for nutrition, instead of having an appetite that is kind of a little small, quiet little reminder of mealtime. That's what hunger really is supposed to be. It is an intense emergency because your brain is not getting enough energy because your blood sugar is dropping. This is something that we call hangry. So a lot of people are familiar with this, right? Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, that wasn't a word. If the kids were hungry, we were told, go back outside and play. We didn't have meltdowns. And it's not that we were just better behaved. It was that our metabolisms were capable of fueling our brain with energy between meals so that we didn't need to snack. And what seed oils do to our metabolism is they stop the flow of energy from our body fat to our cells, and especially our brains, so that our brains need so much blood sugar that our blood sugar levels drop. And this is why we have hangry, and this is why willpower won't work. And studies have shown this. Clinical psychologists have designed trials. When people's blood sugar is following, their willpower implodes. There is no such thing as willpower.
Well, willpower is a myth. It's emotionally driven, and emotions are fickle. You know, you're all gung-ho when you're emotionally jacked to do it, but then when you don't feel like it, your willpower's gone. You got to program your environment to support your goal. Let me ask you this. How is it that people haven't known this? Can we put up the food pyramid? We've been funding this forever, right? And when you go look at what kids are being fed in school, it's not healthy. Having trouble taking your business to the next level? Financial Yield Solutions, Inc., or FYSI for short, provides tailored solutions for businesses generating $1 to $10 million annually. For tax planning, advertising, and retirement strategies to scaling operations, FYSI helps businesses thrive with $500 billion raised for AI tech under the Trump administration. Businesses cannot afford to be left behind. FYSI can even help you explore AI integration to cut costs and boost profits. With over 14 years of experience, FYSI specializes in solving the exact challenges business owners face. Business owners can book a free business review today to transform their operations, boost profits, and secure their financial future. Visit fysi.com/Dr. Phil or call 800-877-4000. That's fysi.com/Dr. Phil or call 800-877-4000. We've been funding this forever, right? And when you go look at what kids are being fed in school, it's not healthy.
This is one of the deadliest documents in American history. I mean, look how shameful the bottom of that pyramid is. It's sugar and things that turn into sugar. And the tragic thing is that Americans listen to their health leaders. And then in the 10 years after this came out, the share of our diet that went to carbs went up 20%. And we went away from animal-based fats and the things that actually sustain us. So this actually did dictate behavior. When the Surgeon General said smoking isn't good, smoking rates plummeted. I can't emphasize this enough. If there's a real awakening in this country, real leadership from the NIH and scientific leaders, if they come and say, we've had a PSYOP in this country, we're gonna have truth and reconciliation on that, and we've gotta get back to real food. We've gotta get back to steak and butter and broccoli and non-ultra-processed food. We'll have a revolution in this country. It can happen very fast because it happened quickly. But this is all from a profit motive. The cigarette industry created that document when they bought the food companies. And the healthcare industry has stood silent and complicit because they profited from this.
So the tobacco companies buy the food companies, and then they push this, and then the healthcare companies stand up and applaud because that means everybody's going to get unhealthy. So now they have lifetime patients with chronic diseases, which account for 95% of the budget.
And that's not conspiratorial that they applaud. When you get to the rubber hitting the road and the standards of care, our CMS guidelines, so these are all technical things, but we gotta understand this. Our standard of care is made, as you know, by the American Medical Association. Our government outsources our care guidelines. The American Medical Association is a pharma lobbying group. We have chosen as a country, as a HHS, that Bobby Kennedy's taking over, to outsource our medical guidelines to a pharma lobbying group. So they collect money from pharma, they outsource their subspecialty guidelines to the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, which takes money from food companies. We are literally turning over our standards of care in this country, the $4.5 trillion of healthcare. So we can change this quickly. As Dr. Shannon said, food was the problem, but food can be the solution. There's no reason that your child and children can't be prescribed food to reverse these issues.
See, the deck is stacked against you, is what we're telling you. And we're wanting to unstack that deck. Coming up, Caitlin says her kids are overweight for their age. And we're going to talk about how you can change that cycle. And we'll be right back. Do you ever notice how foot pain just sneaks up on you? One day you're moving just fine, and the next, every step feels like a chore. Now, maybe you're used to walk a few miles a day, but now, halfway through, your feet are already aching. Or standing for just a couple hours leaves you sore and worn out. Well, listen, I get it, and so does G-Defy. That's G as in gravity and Defy as in defying pain. These shoes absorb shock, take the pressure off your feet, knees, and back, and help you move with ease. And I'm not just saying that. Their claims are FTC approved. Right now, you can try them for yourself with 30% off orders over $120. So just go to gdefy.com, that's GDEFY.com, and use your code Dr. Phil at checkout or text Dr. Phil to 91888 to receive your 30% off. Take care of your feet and they'll take care of you. Well, we're back with Caitlin, and I was just asking her, with the substantial weight loss she has, is she's feeling better, if her lab work is normalizing, is coming back together, and she said yes, right?
Yeah. I was eating myself to immobility, and now I am completely mobile. I'm not exaggerating. There was a point where I could not walk from my parked car outside my house into the house without rushing to sit down. Now I'm living my life. The quality of my life has changed drastically. And one of the hard things to admit is, at my heaviest weight, my kids' quality of life was being affected.
Of course.
So I'm not only changing my life, I'm changing their life. And I've taken responsibility and ownership, and I'm doing what I have to do to try to get my kids in better health.
Yeah, and it does affect them, because parent is both a verb and a noun.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a parent and you have to parent, and that means you have to be able to get up and move and be with them and take them places and attend their events and that sort of thing. And Jillian, we talked about agency before. She's embedded in a system that's programmed against her. But when you watch a commercial for a fast food franchise, they don't show you much of the food. They show you bright lights and acceptance and smiles, and it's like, hey, come here, everybody's happy, everybody's accepted. It's a con job A to Z, is it not?
Oh my goodness. They get the world's biggest celebrities to sell you fast food and soda and chips. They've got cartoon characters like Toucan Sam and Captain Crunch, which kind of reminds you of all the cartoon characters that used to sell kids cigarettes. A few other things I wanted to say. You mentioned that your son has autism. 1 in 34 kids now has autism, and it used to be, I think, 1 in 10,000 when I was a child. There are so many different factors here, and I just want to take this off of your plate psychologically, because you are not alone here. This is not your fault. And the reality is that, yes, this system has been rigged against you, and now it is time to do what you're doing and fight back in the ways that you're fighting back. But should you run into obstacles, should you struggle, it's because of the way, literally, I'll say it again, this system is rigged. And I also want to say this to you: lead by example. Get your kids into activities. Control the environment, like Dr. Phil is telling you. I tell you this to help you understand that we can dot the I's, we can cross the T's, we can lead by example. But ultimately, there will come a time where our kids will have to make those decisions down the road for themselves. And you can show them how to do that by making those decisions, and you are. So I just want to give you so much props for the changes you're making and take some of this, what I am perceiving as guilt, off of your plate. And last thing before I give up my moment here, a sick child is not just profitable because of the time these kids will be on medications or be consuming these foods. They've actually managed to influence policy in such a way where medicating a child is more profitable. It's a lower barrier to entry with the medications. The medications are more costly, and they can maintain a monopoly on the medication to keep out generic versions of the medication longer. Just to give you an idea of how insidious and how deep this goes.
The thing that you have to understand is you do have choices here, but you've got to be active in making them. Both of your boys eat breakfast and lunch at school?
They do, yes.
What are they likely facing at school still? I mean, this hasn't changed much.
It's a criminal enterprise. The biggest fast food restaurant in the country is federally funded school lunches, and there is no sugar limit and almost no nutrition guidelines for those. I'm really trying to drive for policy change, and I think we're gonna have a transformation in the next couple of years. But when you're talking about breaking the chain, we have a mass addiction crisis in this country when it comes to food. We've been totally bamboozled by that. And it's a serious, serious problem. What we're putting into our body, what we're fueling ourselves with, our metabolic habits when it comes to our sedentary lifestyle, our circadian rhythm and sleep. I mean, these are serious, serious problems. We need to understand that, and we need to break the chain. But that is absolutely what has to happen on a mass societal level. It needs to be all hands on deck. Jillian wasn't wrong when she said this is a societally, destructive, existential threat, which she said in the Senate. She was right.
Yes, absolutely right. No question.
I think it's absolutely essential for us as consumers and for anyone listening who's a physician to come to grips with the idea that we have been lied to about the idea that cholesterol causes heart attacks. That came from the American Heart Association in the 1940s, and it came from the American Heart Association very shortly after they accepted money from Procter & Gamble, like you said, a company that sells seed oils. This cholesterol lie is so powerful because when you take away cholesterol, you take away animal fat. And when you take away animal fat, you take away some of delicious things like butter, like we've talked about, but you also take away something worse, which is traditional cooking. There is no culinary tradition in the entire world that doesn't use animal fats. Right? Veganism is not a tradition. It's a kind of a religion or a movement. It's not something that has been with humanity for any period of time. Right. So what we've done is we've disconnected ourselves from the actual real source of nutrition information, which was just people who like to cook, people who raised us, who raised their own children. They wanted to give them the best possible stuff. They wanted to make it taste good because they wanted their children to be healthy. Cholesterol-rich foods are so satiating, and when we scare people away from eating them, we prevent people from getting that natural feeling of like, well, I think I'm done. I can push my plate away now.
All right. Another hurdle Caitlin is up against, she lives with a roommate who has similar food issues. Now, Caitlin's friend Michelle says she ignored her diabetes for so long, it caused her to undergo a full hysterectomy. That's next. The IRS is ramping up enforcement for 2025. If you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, don't panic. The truth is, it's smart to get ahead of this, but never, never contact the IRS alone. Turn it over to the team at Tax Network USA, because not all tax resolution companies are created equal. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, meaning they know which IRS agents to work with and which to avoid. Tax Network USA has proven strategies that are designed to settle your tax problems whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million. Their attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists for free. Stop the threatening letters. Stop looking over your shoulder. Leave your IRS troubles behind you for good. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dr. Phil. That's tnusa.com/Dr. Phil.
Healthy food is expensive. If I could afford to keep healthy food in the house, I would. I am a single mom. I work full time. I get paid bi-weekly, and people are like, oh, paycheck to paycheck. I live paycheck to a few days before paycheck. My issue is, this is like 2 for $10, and this is like $12.99 for 1. It's a struggle. Like, I would love to feed my kids and myself healthy meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks. It's expensive.
Well, we've been talking with Caitlin. Now, her roommate, Michelle, is also here. Now, they've been best friends for 25 years and are living together to save money while raising their sons. Michelle is on her own weight loss journey, but she and her son are also victims of the chronic illness epidemic.
Growing up, I never really had a healthy relationship with food, and I'm still to this day struggling with some serious health issues because of it. My heaviest weight was 225 pounds. I was definitely scared that I was gonna be overweight forever. You get to a point in your life where you feel like this is it. Growing up in my household, it wasn't always the healthiest food choices. We ate a lot of processed, unhealthy foods. 22 years old is when I had gotten to my heaviest, but I really just didn't care. I thought that I was invincible. I didn't know that at 36 years old, I would be severely diabetic. I am so thankful to have my son. That boy is my saving grace. He's saved my life in so many ways, and I'm so thankful for him. I want to provide my son with a safe and healthy environment. I don't want him growing up, ending up with diabetes, having the same complications that I do. That's the last thing that I want for him as a mom. In the last 2 years, I've lost 35 pounds, and it's really changed my outlook on life. I'm more willing to be that active mom and show him a healthy lifestyle. As a country, I don't think the resources to healthy food and learning about healthy food are really there. It's difficult for people to provide that for their families.
Well, I'm glad you're here. You guys have said that it's expensive to eat healthy.
Yes, sir.
And that it's quicker and less expensive sometimes to just pull through and pick up a hamburger or something at McDonald's.
Convenience, for sure.
Convenience is key. Yeah.
But it's not less expensive
It's, at this point, not anymore, not really.
because the percentage of the cost of a fast food hamburger or any restaurant that you go to, you can make what you're buying at home for less than half of what you're spending, and you can do it with your kids there.
This is breaking it down per the meal, but I can't go to the store and buy enough lettuce just for one burger. So if you do the totals for what I need to make that meal is going to cost me a lot more in ingredients than it is to just go get that burger.
Oh, no. No, the difference gets bigger when you don't just buy for one.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make 3 or 4, if you've got 4 people there or 5 people there, then the difference gets bigger and bigger.
But I am low income. I have $5.99 to get my son a cheeseburger. I don't have $50 to go buy all of those ingredients.
You don't need $50 every single day. You have to plan and buy ahead of time. Make no mistake, you're paying for a lot of things that are not the food that you're getting. I reject your argument wholly, no matter how much everybody's clapping for what you're saying. I reject that out of hand. You cannot buy fast food cheaper than you can make it at home. You absolutely cannot do it.
What it comes down to, it is the word you already said, planning. But we do not get taught these skills. And if you had to go through bariatric surgery, you probably met with a dietitian. Mm-hmm. Did that dietitian sit down with you and say, let's create a weekly planning. Here's how you do it, and here's how you're gonna afford it. What's your budget? Did that happen? And I know this is a rhetorical question, because I know the answer is no. All of my other patients have said, no, I've never heard anything like this, but this is exactly what I need. And normally we would watch this. This gets back to modeling behaviors. We would watch what our parents did and just copy it. But our parents, that wasn't part of the lifestyle. It wasn't that important. It wasn't the priority. And so generation by generation, these skills that are vital skills have fallen by the wayside. And this is the world's #1 problem, is people don't know how to eat.